Thank you very much. We will proceed now. Madam Witness,
Yes, hello.
prior to the break, you told us about what would happen when female protocol officers went on trips to Kanilai with Yaya Jame.
Yes,
You told us the fact that you would all gather together either in the corridor or in the sitting room, and an individual would be called, or sometimes the individual would be called and you would all stay in your residence. And you told us the reason for
yes,
that was for the for the president to have sex with those people. You also
yes,
mentioned that some of the individuals that he called did not want that. And in fact, you mentioned one particular individual who told you about her experience, including the fact that she tried to say no, and in the end, Yaya Jame punched her and ended up
mm-hmm.
um, essentially raping her. You
Yes,
told us as well that a lot of these women were over the age of 18, or all of them that you recall, as far as you could tell, were over 18. So you said that some of the individuals did not want this, and examples being obviously what you were told. What about other
yes.
individuals? Um, what would you say about some of the other people in the similar situation, some of the other protocol officers?
Um, I know there are, like, like I told you, there were people who didn't want it, but I have also seen people who wanted it. There were people who see that as pride. Uh, even even certain women trying to flirt around, to get his attention. So for me, yes, there were girls who didn't want it. He took advantage of how vulnerable the women were. He had money, he had power, he had the position, and he took that to his advantage to abuse the women.
Can you can you give us a list of some of the individuals who went in, who were called separately by Yaya Jame at the time? Just a list of some of the individuals that you recall.
I think I have that on their names are here: 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Yeah.
Those are the names that you recall.
Yes.
Numbers 36 to 42.
Yeah.
You told us that, of course, some of them wanted to have such relationships with the president, others didn't, and you gave us examples. Can you tell us how Yaya Jame treated an individual that he had chosen to call into the room? How would he treat that person? What would you observe as a protocol officer?
Um, with him, one thing is he gives that person so much attention, so much gifts, money and all that. But worst of it was that he treated them like his own property. At the same time, he makes these people feel very special, and As I mentioned, he gives them a lot of money, phones, laptops, sometimes a house, and even a car. But then you have to be ready to come to him whenever he wanted and anytime. So it was more like being a sexual object to him.
Out of the names that you've mentioned, I'm looking at paragraph 14 of the protected information sheet. That's number 9. There is a name that is mentioned, the first name. It wasn't part of the names that you identified, but do you know if that individual was called in by Yaya Jammeh during these trips to Kanilai?
Can you come again, please? Paragraph 19.
Number 9, paragraph 14,
Okay.
the first name.
Okay. Yes,
She was one of the individuals
I
that the.
remember that.
Okay. Thank you for confirming that.
You're
Can you,
welcome.
can you tell us whether any of these women or these protocol officers, whether any of them had any consequences as a result of their sexual relationship with Yaya Jammeh, whether there were any consequences of actually, yeah, actually engaging in those relationships with Yaya Jammeh.
Well, I know that when things do not work again, he was very good at taking back what he gave to you. So in those cases, he took back the money. Sorry, he didn't take back the money. He took back the car. In other cases, he took back the laptop. And sometimes the house that he let you stay in, he sends you out. And for others, you even end up being dumped or sacked. I have seen things like that happen.
What about other types of consequences that are medically related? Were there any such consequences
So,
that you recall?
yes, I remember one of the people or one of the young women who slept with him told me he did not use protection, and as a result of that, some got pregnant, and they had to get rid of that because in other cases that it was realized you were pregnant, you were sent out of the state house or wherever you were living, and like you must get rid of the pregnancy. He cannot know you were pregnant.
Can you point to the list for the name of the individual who told you about this?
Yes. On paragraph 17.
There's more than one name in that paragraph. What were the experiences of those two individuals in that paragraph? Paragraph 17, which is number 11 on the list.
Um, Both of them got pregnant, and for example, one of them got her pregnancy terminated, and the one that spoke to me, I remember I went with her up to the hospital so that they could help her to get rid of it because it was risky for her. That was after seeing how they treated one of the girls who was actually not a protocol but was staying at the state house. After she got pregnant, they terminated her pregnancy and sent her back to the village. And for this other individual that spoke to me, she was at risk of her family being sent out, and anything could have happened to her. So she was not willing to take that risk.
And just to make sure that we can identify each of these examples, can you can you give us the name of the examples that you've just given now from the list? And perhaps you
Um,
can look at the back of the list if that helps.
on number 36 was the individual that spoke to me, and number 42 was the other girl that was not the protocol.
Did you say number 32?
Number 36.
Number 36 is the one who you accompanied to get an abortion. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
And the other person that you mentioned is number what exactly?
42.
32. There are two names in number
42.
42. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Um, Apart from the experience, the general system you've described at Kanilai, um, was there any kind of phrase or any kind of cover that was used in order to get women to go to the president for sex? Was there something that was generally used or said, let's go and do X, to capture this particular phenomenon or to describe this experience?
Well, mostly Jimmy will say, person, let's go for massage. That is also different from when we all had to go and sit at the veranda. There, she just calls the individual and goes inside with the individual. But in other cases, when she had to go with one person, she says, let's go for massage.
And how did you understand let's go for massage?
Well, mostly when she goes, with my experience, and for those that spoke to me, it was to go for sex. It's possible some were just there to massage, which I cannot attest to, but to those that I know, it was for sex.
Can you tell us about your own personal experience? Because you told us earlier that one of the reasons why you know that when an individual is called specifically to go to Yaya Jammeh's room or sitting room, it was for sex. Can you give us your own experience of what happened?
Well, I remember there was a day in Kanilai
Can I just
when
remind you
Indigo
to
told
be,
me
can I remind you just to be
that,
careful that you don't identify yourself? Bear that in mind when you're telling us what happened, including any name that may have been used to refer to you while this was happening.
yes,
Just be mindful of that. Please continue.
thank you for reminding me of that. Um, I remember in Kanilai, that was shortly after I had a trip with the president, and after the scholarship promises, we were in Kanilai, and one evening Jimmy called me and said the president wanted to see me in his apartment. And when we got there, he asked me to undress, and this was very weird to me, but he told me because he had to do some spiritual bath for me, like ritual bath. So I felt like I am from a home where my father doesn't allow things like that. He never applied anything on us He has the belief that the God that created you can always be the one who protects you. So when the president said this to me, I sort of appreciated it, and I felt special that he wanted to protect me in a way that my parents didn't. And I can remember looking at him and saying, well, but it's okay because you are like my father. I undressed and we went to the bathroom. He covered me with something white, and he had like incense, and the smoke made the room cloudy. And we did the ritual bath, and Jimmy was there. And after that, we went back. The next day again,
Before you
she said
proceed,
we have to.
before you proceed,
Uh,
do you recall around what time of the day this was when the president called you to give you a spiritual bath?
this was at night, but I don't remember the actual time.
And you said that inside the room, that it wasn't just you and the president, Jimbe was also there.
Yes, she was.
You said after there was smoke coming out, so incense smoke, and the room was cloudy. And you said
Yeah.
that you had a cloth around you, and then he did a spiritual bath. What did that entail? What do you mean by spiritual bath? What exactly did he do?
I don't know. It was water and some stuff. I don't know. For me, that was the first time to go through something like that. And he poured the water all over me from my head to toe. And he said, it was ready now, you can go.
While he did that, did he touch you in any way, or did he only pour the water over you?
On the first day, maybe, but I did not realize anything like that. For me, it was just he covered me up and everything was normal.
So you said that you even appreciated it because you felt that he was trying to protect you by giving you a spiritual bath. And then you said to him, "This is okay because you are like my father."
Yes.
After that, that particular incident, how did you feel when you went back to the residence?
On that day, I felt special, and I was, I think I was happy being treated like that by the president. You know, that the president felt there was a need to protect me. It felt good.
Can you tell us what happened? You started to say then the next day. Can you tell us what happened the next day?
The next day, the president called me back, and Jimmy took me inside, and
Sorry,
he
just a
told me
question.
again to undress, which I
Whenever,
did.
sorry, just to interrupt you, whenever you say the president called me and then Jimbei took me, how does the president call you? Does he call you directly or does he go through Jimbei? Just to clarify that.
Yeah, it's through Jimmy. So it's Jimmy who comes and says the president wants you to go.
So please continue. What happened on that? That was it the day or the night time?
It was at night.
Can you tell us what happened when you went on this second occasion?
Yeah, we went again, and he asked me to undress, and I did. But this time it was something different. He even looked at me and said, "Well, you look like a primary school girl." And he started touching my body, my breast, and it was awkward for me. And I remember that I started crying and I was pushing back, going back. To an extent, it was the end. There was the wall. And he was like, what happened? And Jimby said to him,
Be
she
mindful
is like
here.
this.
Okay, please continue. Yeah.
She is like this. She is very shy. But I know I had learned a lot at that time when it comes to sexual violence, when it comes to being assertive, when it comes to saying no without hurting the individual. So I tried doing this. I said, no, I am not a shy person, but I see you like my father and I didn't expect this from you. But maybe I was wrong. For him, you cannot try to be assertive. And maybe that was what made him angry, and I had to pay for that.
How did you
He sent
react
me
when you
back.
told him? How
Yes.
did he react? You said he was angry. What did he do or say?
He said, take her out of here. And I was gone. And I remember the day I was shaking. I was too scared. And in the morning, I was told I had to go back home. And the driver came for me and took me home.
So
And
essentially, you were expelled from
he
Kanilai.
he terminated my he terminated my scholarship, and he didn't want to see me again.
So essentially, from what you've said, because you refused um, his advances, he was touching you, you told us about that. His
Hmm.
reaction was to be angry, and the next day you were expelled from Kanilai and told to go home. And another consequence was that your scholarship, the one he had promised you, was terminated. Is that right?
This is correct.
How did you feel about that?
This was difficult for me, but I didn't have a choice. This was a job I needed. I'm sure many people out there will be like, why did you continue doing the job? It was not as easy as they think. You cannot just leave the job like that. One thing was clear: if you wanted to leave the job that was to resign, then you must be away. And then with my situation, I had a family to help, so I wanted to still be in the job and still fight for myself. But I was treated badly by him, and from that day, I rarely saw him. It was only when there were programs or occasions or things like that that I would see him. He stopped helping me. He stopped offering me any sort of support, and it was difficult seeing him do things for others, not everyone, but you see a particular girl, and then the person was getting certain things, not because she was working better than you, not because she was more hardworking than you, but because she was sleeping with him, and then you were like, I was sidelined. That was difficult for me, and to be honest, to an extent, I started feeling jealous of the others, and I started saying to myself, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should have accepted it, and then I will not be going through this.
I just want to refer the commissioners to numbers 16 to 19 on the protected information sheet. I'm referring the commissioners to the information in the protected information sheet. So numbers 16 to 19, which represent paragraphs 26 to 28, where there is additional information about the consequences that the witness faced as a result of refusing Yahya Jammeh's advances. Madam Witness, you told us that you stayed in the job because it wasn't difficult to just get up and leave, but also you needed the money because you were helping to take care of your family. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you've talked about being essentially isolated and sidelined, and you didn't receive any of the other gifts that other people received during that time.
Correct.
At that point in time, did you take any other measures? Did you continue to do your work as a protocol officer fully, including going on trips with the president?
No, because for me, later it made no sense. There were times that we go to Kanilai, and for example, there were days that we all go together to his apartment and sleep, but most of the time I would be sleeping at night, like we were all sleeping, and when he calls, it's always at late, and in the middle of the night I wake up and I don't see anyone else in the room. I don't know for what reason Jimmy was the one calling us to go, but the isolation was too tense. And later I said to myself, it makes no sense for me to even go. So when it was time to go, I found many excuses. Some of the times I said things like we had a funeral or I had stomach ache. And I refused to go. I didn't want to go there. And I remember one of the days, like one of my colleagues called and said, leave whatever you are doing and come to Kanilai. Don't cause a problem for yourself. So it was clear later that I didn't want to go. I was always absent. I always said something was wrong because I was tired of it. He didn't need me there anymore.
Do you recall for how long this kind of isolation and sidelining, how long it lasted before Yahya Jammeh started taking an interest in you again?
Yeah, it took some time until on one occasion when I congratulated him on a gesture he did, and I think he was impressed, and he said I was the first one to do that. That was a day like he pardoned prisoners, and I said congratulations, because for me that was an achievement. Those were people, like many people said, he killed them. And when he released those people, I said to myself, maybe we were wrong. He didn't kill those people. And I said, congratulations. And he said, come here and hug me. I did that. And he asked me to sit by his side. I did. But he held my hand. And then he was caressing my palm with his finger, I know about those things. I learned about them. So it was odd for me. But in a respectful way, I tried to withdraw my hand from him and even manage to get up from his couch. I was not thinking he would notice that. But that also angered him, because just before that, I was working on a project and I had all the invoice and everything. He said he was going to pay for that. He even already asked me to bring the receipt and everything. And then all of a sudden, in the morning again, I was told I had to go home. And I went back home. And that was a time when he wanted me to apply for another school, which I did after he canceled the other one. And he didn't want to talk about this other scholarship again, and then he would not want to see me again.
So essentially, this was
He
this.
ignored me.
Please continue.
Yes.
So essentially, this was the second time that Jam was making some kind of advance towards you, either sexually or something that just made you feel that it was inappropriate, and you withdrew. And essentially, the consequence again was the first time was termination of your scholarship. This time, essentially, he no longer wanted to talk about helping you fund your school. Is that correct?
Yes. The first one was canceling my termination, my scholarship, and 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 something also more difficult, that
Can you repeat that? I think I missed what you said last.
yeah, the first time was he canceled my scholarship and he reacted in other ways, which which I may not be able to reveal here.
I have referred the commissioners to paragraphs 26 onwards, and I believe that's what you're referring to, the additional consequences that you faced. Paragraphs 26 to 28.
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you. Um, One question that I have generally about, you've explained to us the system that was in place in relation to protocol officers. And you told us how
Mm-hmm.
Yaya Jammeh would interact with female protocol officers. What about when you went on tour, um, nationwide tours, or you attended public gatherings? Um, were there any women that would either join your group? If yes, how would that happen?
Uh, yes, that happened. Sometimes women that were not part of us will join us. And I recall an incident when when one of our officers, I don't know if I should mention him or not.
I believe
What it,
you can refer us to the paragraph on the protected information sheet.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not actually following the.
No, that's fine. I From what I can see on the statement, this is not someone who is protected, because the person is not a victim or a survivor. So you can mention the person's name.
Yes, I remember on one of the occasions when my former chief of protocol, Sanajaji, so like one of the girls was in the gathering and he asked me to go and take the girl's number because the girl used to be his classmate. But it could, I can be, I might be wrong. I remember seeing that girl in Kanilai later, going to the president. And on other occasions,
When you
we
saw
were
that,
on tour.
when you saw that girl
Yeah.
going to the president's residence, um, what did you think, looking back at the fact that Sanajaju had asked you to take the number for Um, well, for him, because that person was a former classmate. What did you think the next day when you saw the girl coming from the president's residence?
Well, for me, it was obvious that why would he handpick a girl from the gathering? So it was clear that he wanted her for sex.
Do you recall if this, I mean, sometimes it's difficult to tell just by looking at a person, but do you recall if this individual was over 18 or below 18?
She was definitely above 18.
You started to give us another example. Can you tell us?
Yeah, I remember once there was this light-skinned girl. We were on tour somewhere around Basse, and Jimby Jimby approached her and took her number. And later in the morning, she came out with an envelope, which I suppose was money, was a lot of money. And I
And
said to myself, that's another one.
what do you mean by that's another one?
That's another woman he he just saw and took advantage of.
And same question as I asked you before. Do you recall if this woman was above 18 or below 18?
I think she was above 18. Uh,
So these two incidents that you've mentioned, I assume that you do not know the names of these individuals. Is that correct?
yeah, that is correct.
So I would like to focus on specific interactions that Yaya Jame had with certain women that you know of.
Hmm.
You mentioned earlier about someone who was listed as number 36 on the protected information sheet.
36, yes.
Can you tell us, you told us earlier that this person informed you of an occasion where the president called her, she tried to refuse, and she was punched. And then the
Hmm.
president basically raped her at that point. You said she told you
Yeah,
about it. Can you tell
yes.
us about any other information that she may have provided you regarding what else happened to her?
Well, she told me that he was not protecting himself. And for me, that was very risky. In my part, I was more scared of diseases and rituals. I don't know for what reason. I know at that time I spoke to very few people about the incident, and they were men, and they always encouraged me to make sure that under no circumstance I agree to do it, because it's possible he might be doing it for some sort of rituals. It was too much for me. You cannot have taste for every woman, and the fact that he was not protecting himself makes it worse.
Do you, can you tell us whether, while you were present with this individual, whether at any point she was called to go to State House to because Yaya Jammeh called for her? You told us already about one
Yes.
incident that she told you about when we talked about Kanilai. but do you recall anything happening in relation to State House itself?
Yes, I remember when the president once, like he never calls direct. It was Jimby who called her and said that she had to go to the State House. On that day, I was with her because we had a delegation to take care of at the hotel, and she had to go that night. It was about 2 p.m. and I could see how terrible it was for her
Sorry, was it
because
2
you know
p.m.? Did you say 2 p.m.?
around 2 p.m. Yeah, sorry, 2 a.m.
Okay, so early hours of the morning.
Yeah,
What were you doing at that time?
we were at the hotel. We had a delegation to take care of, and we were already sleeping. And I remember this was a woman who, like, we had the trust for each other, and I told her about what I was going through, and she told me what she was going through. And when the call came, she she hesitated to even receive the call because when Jimmy called you that time of the night, it's obvious she wanted you to go. She didn't want to go, but there was nothing we could do. So she left, she went, and I saw her the next day. She told me, I don't like what is happening, but I don't know what I have to do.
So, from what you've
Especially when
said,
Yaya Jame was the one taking care and helping her family.
she didn't want to do this or she didn't want to go, but she felt that she had no choice. Is that right?
Yes.
Can you tell us about another, and perhaps I should just refer the commissioners to the entire paragraph in your statement, and that would be paragraphs 36 and 35 and 36, which are numbers 25 and 26 on the protected information sheet. That's the incident that Madam Witness was just talking about. Apart from that individual, do you recall any other specific examples of Yaya Jammeh's interactions with other women or girls?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Please tell us about them.
I I know he was this man. Okay, for me, I used to see him like a father figure, like a great religious leader, a true African. But the day that that incident happened, and that led to him terminating my scholarship or canceling my scholarship, was the last day I saw that person, the person that I used to love so much. And I was disappointed because he double talked. He says this thing today to the public, and then you see him doing those particular things. I remember he once asked the religious leaders at one of the Quranic programs, what do they think about married men being with other women? And that was very awkward because for me he was doing the same thing. So I saw him going with other women to his house, and he treated them very nice. But he was good at that. He treats you like you are the one. I am interested in you. I will marry you. And all of a sudden, he dumps you, and then you will struggle to see him. You can't see him anymore. You see him with somebody else. So he starts with this one, and then maybe he doesn't have interest anymore. He is interested in another person. So he creates an environment of jealousy and hatred within the women.
Do you recall any
And
specific examples where he did that? And if you do, please refer us to the relevant portion of your protected information sheet.
yes, I know the names. Someone like number 37 and someone number yeah number 41
Is
on
that
paragraph 37.
is that the information that's contained in number 28? So the name referred to in paragraph 37 as well as the information contained in paragraph 38. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
As an example of what you've just explained to us.
Yes.
Do you recall any other examples of Yaya Jammeh's interactions with specific women based on what you know?
Well, I know I have seen in situations where he abused, like he has sexual relationships with people who are related by blood. He doesn't care, and that created chaos that made those 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 women who are related even to start hating each other. And I also know it's possible there were other women who said no to him. But I know that one particular woman who said no to him, but then you always will face the consequences.
Let's take that step by step. You mentioned that sometimes um, he would s- he would basically have sexual relations with two people or sleep with two people who were related by blood.
Yes.
Can you give us examples based on your protected information sheet?
On paragraph 39,
And
and
that person,
and the names, yeah, the
that
name of the
person,
people on 41
mhm.
and 42.
So 41 and 42, what was their relationship?
They were sisters, blood sisters.
And in terms of 39, who was the other person? What was the relationship with 39?
That was her sister. It's the same mother and father.
And you also, in your statement, you referred to people who were related to him, who were also sisters.
Yes.
Are we referring to paragraph 18? Is that accurate?
I cannot hear you.
Are you referring to paragraph 18, which is point number 12? Is that correct?
Yes.
And you've told us that some of these individuals were protocol officers, some were not. Is that right?
Yes, that is right. Because I know of one of his family members who got pregnant out of the affairs she was having with him.
Sorry, just to be clear, what happened to that person?
I know she got pregnant and later it was aborted when she left.
You, sorry, can you refer to the name of that individual so we know who you're talking about? Is it, are you referring to any of the names on paragraph 18, which I just referred to?
Paragraph what?
Paragraph 18, which is number 12 on the protected information sheet.
Exactly. It's the third name there.
The third name on that list. Okay. You also mentioned that you know of other people who refused and suffered consequences as a result of refusing to sleep with the president.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that, or can you refer us to any examples?
She is the one I mentioned on paragraph 42, and she was a protocol officer, and she refused to sleep with him. I can't remember well whether she was the one who told me or one of her friends who was also working with us. But at a point, I noticed that she was also not receiving anything from him. But if I am right, she was the one who told me that she went to him, and then he started touching her hands inappropriately, and she didn't like that. That was when at first he started calling her to go to Canela. They would pick her and do stuff and gave her money. And later he did those advances, and in the end, she ended up being sacked.
You said it's the person listed in paragraph 42. Would that be the same person in number 40 of the list?
Yes.
What about the person listed as number 39 on your list?
Yeah, I also know her.
Can you tell us what happened to her without revealing, of course, her identity?
Uh, I know she was also promised a scholarship, and there was a time when I was sent back home. We were going together, and she was crying, and I don't really want to reveal much about her, but it was as a result of sexual abuse.
And to be clear, you're referring to the information contained in paragraph 41, and that would be paragraph 41 of your statement, which would be point number 31.
Yes.
Okay. What about the person listed as number 38 on the list? Can you tell us about her? Bearing in mind identifying information. Can you tell us
Yes.
about
For
number
me,
38?
I don't really know if the president raped her, because one thing about rape is when the person uses his power over you to have sexual relationship, it is rape. And the fact that I was not inside the room, but I know, yeah, Jama used to give this person so much attention, and she comes to Kanilai, and I don't know how many times. So one thing clear was he was really taking advantage of the vulnerability of these young women. He provides support to you, to your family, gives you money, gives you phones, and it's possible he did, which I know nothing about.
Just to be clear, are you referring to the person listed as number 37 or the person listed as number 38 on your list?
Number 37.
Can you tell us about the person listed as number 38?
Um, I know she was younger. Number 38, you mean?
Yes, please. What do you mean by she was younger? Was she above or below
No, I
18?
didn't. I thought you said the other one. You mean the one on number 38?
Yes. Do you recall if
Yeah,
number
she's the one I
38
just told you about.
Do you recall if number 38 was below the age of 18 or above the age of 18?
Well, at that time, I think she would have been the same age with me or maybe older. So in
If
the
you
early 20s then.
mm, if you have your statement in front of you, I'm referring to the information contained in paragraph 40.
In paragraph 40.
40, yes.
Okay, yeah, I know this individual, and she was a much younger one because when I was working, she was yeah she was young and she was under 18 years old, and but she was one of those young women who were or children who were empowered, and she must have known a lot also about violence against women and children. So she was very calm, and I heard she also refused because I did not witness that, but I heard she refused to sleep with Yaya Jame, and later she was expelled from State House, and that was very bad because why would somebody be treated that way just because she refused to sleep with you? To me, I see that girl and even myself as people who just respected him and gave him his due and wish he could respect us the same way.
You told us that she was below 18. Do you recall if she was in primary or secondary school at the time?
She was in secondary school.
And you said she was expelled from State House. Was she living at Marena or was she living somewhere else?
She was living at Marina.
You said she was expelled, and based on what you saw, um, you interpreted it as she refused the president. She refused to have any sexual relationship with the president, and that's why she was expelled. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
With him, the consequences will always come. So it's either he stops supporting you, sends you out, fails his promises that he made, especially when it comes to education. So it was certain that that was the reason he did that.
You mentioned Jimbe Jame as the person who would basically be an intermediary between protocol officers and other women and Yaya Jame. As far
Yes.
as you know, were there any other individuals who would assist Yaya Jame in getting women, getting girls in order to have sexual relationships with them or to rape them, as the case may be?
Well, I know he was the Cindy was the number one that was doing this, and
Sorry, say that again.
what there was I know Jimby was the one doing that, and that was my experience. There was there was one time when my former chief of protocol asked me to take one of the girls' number, and I later saw that girl in the morning from the president. But in most cases, it was Jimby.
So, as far as you recall, Jimbe was one person, and you've mentioned the chief of protocol at the time. Do you recall any other individuals who would play a role in helping Yaya Jammeh get women?
Um, but I don't know much about him.
What about on those occasions? What about the first lady? Where was she when these incidents, when these things were happening? Do you know? I'm looking at
Mhm.
your statement. Do you have it in front of you?
Yes.
I'm looking at paragraph 43.
Hello?
Can you hear me? I'm looking at paragraph 43 and 44.
Yes.
I want to understand the information that you've provided. Can you tell us about that, as well as how you know the information contained there?
With the names as well.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, that is one about Lamin Manga, the former press secretary. Uh, he was very close to Jimby and Yaya Jammeh, and I think he knows a lot when it comes to Yaya Jammeh and women, because I know that there was this one woman who sometimes comes to the country, and it was through him.
You recall just one woman? Is that what you said?
Yes, but I know one thing, that he was really close to Jimby
And so
and Yaya Jammeh.
why do you believe that apart from this one woman who would come to Gambia, that he would know a lot more about Yaya Jammeh and women?
Yeah, because they were always together, and when there were occasions, there were some invitations that were for certain women coming out of the Gambia that he took care of.
So there were women coming from other countries that would come to the Gambia on occasions, and those are women that he would know about because those women, you believe, interacted with Jammeh sexually. Is that what you've said?
Yes, I forgot to mention this to you when my statement was taken, but on an occasion, I was even the one who accompanied Jimby to the airport to receive one of the women.
And you can provide us with that, with the name after your testimony, because there's no way to have you write it and give it to us right now. So we'll do it after your testimony. What
Okay.
about the information in paragraph 44? Can you tell us about that?
Um, that is about the junglers. For me, it's very strange because I didn't know about them. We used to hang out with them. I used to hear the name junglers, but it was something. After hearing everything, I would never had believed those was those were things in existence. So we really hung out with them, and we were doing things. We ate with them. I remember people like Malik and Noha, those names. I don't know their second names, but I also know Sanamanjang, even though I didn't have interactions with him.
When you say we were hanging out with the junglers, what does that mean? First of all, who is we, and what do you mean by hanging out?
Like we, the protocol officers, we see them when there were programs at Kanilai. We sit with them. We see them as normal people. Yeah, not knowing the jobs they were doing. So it was even, I don't know, it is scary to know that we were surrounded by people like that.
So they would attend some of the programs at Kanilai that you and other protocol officers were also attending. And from what you've said, at the time, you didn't know um, who they were or what they were really doing. Is that correct?
No. And when we had occasions like we are there for days or sometimes months, up to a month. So the place there was big, and you see a lot of them. But for me, I never had known this is what this person was doing. These people are killing our people or things like that. I never knew about that. But later, when I started hearing the names, I can recall Nuha and Malik and Kosana Manjang. Of course, I know him.
But as you said, you never had any direct interaction with them.
No, no.
While you were a protocol officer at the Office of the President, did you, apart from the examples you've given us and your interactions with Yaya Jame, did you experience any other form of sexual violence or any sexual harassment from other public officials?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that, and can you refer us to the name in the list?
Okay. This individual works at the Ministry of Justice, and he is on number 45, and he still works there. I remember when I was working on one of my projects, I went to his office for help after calling him to go through what I was doing. And when I went there, he opened his office and I was inside. It's an isolated place. And he locked his door. And then he started behaving in a very different way. And he started asking me, "Do you like bananas?" I didn't understand what was going on. And all of a sudden, he's an elderly person. He took out his penis and he asked me to touch it. He was even pulling my hand to touch that. And that was difficult. For me, in such situations, I just want to escape that. And I told him, "Please let me go. I have something to do at work. I will come back here." And then when I left, that was the last day I went to him. I remember I saw him not long ago in Gambia, and he asked for my number again. Okay. And I gave him a wrong number. And I'm sure maybe he is listening. It's possible he is doing it to other young women, which I feel is very unfair. But I know he's listening, and unless the cases are similar, he will know who is talking.
Can you tell us why you feel it is important to talk about these instances, these incidents of sexual violence?
I know there are many women who are in my situation. I know there are many women who want better lives for themselves. And I know that there are men out there who have power, who have authority, and they will take advantage of them. But I just want to tell them, okay, they can do this today, but they might face it tomorrow. And because I don't want it to happen to other women, I don't want my sisters to even need support from men like those. Because I will not say every man. I have very great men in my life, men who guided me through, men who stood by me, and men who will always stand there and protect the women. But fact is, the majority are there to sexually abuse women, to take advantage of the situation. And I still go back to vulnerability. They look at your situation and think they can take advantage of you. And I don't want this to happen to other women out there. For me, it's not, it's not something I enjoy. Nobody enjoys sitting here talking about a person tried to do this to me or that to me. But I believe I must do it for others. I believe there are women out there who are going through the pressure, who are going through the pain, and I want to tell them it's 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 possible to challenge those men. It's possible to stand up for what you believe and make them pay for that. Because for me, important is these men have to know what they did and, if possible, pay for what they did. And this one person is someone, normally there are even people who appear to be the ones to protect us. There are people who sit there, and when the public is there, they say all sort of things. They pretend like they are there for the women. They pretend like they are protecting women, when in fact they are the ones exploiting them.
And you told us that you managed to escape and you even promised to return in order to just get out of this public official's office. Do you think the fact that you were a protocol officer at the time was one of the reasons why you were able to assert yourself, or was there another reason for that?
Well, I know for sure it could be with the job as well, but even before that, I was taught to be assertive. I was taught to how to escape certain situations. I know I learned something that was, when you go to a place, how do you feel about it? Do you feel good or not? That is whether you have a yes or no feeling. And if you know you feel no, you must do everything possible to take yourself out. And the second thing I ask myself, if I need help, will I get it? And if it is no, I still should fight to get myself out of that situation. And whether someone I trust knew where I was. And this is something that, for our younger ones that are coming up, this is something they should really take care of. Anywhere you go, always, always, always keep those questions at the back of your mind. Is it safe enough? How do you feel about it? If you need to escape, are there possibilities? And whether anyone knows where you are. Because they are everywhere and they can do it. So it's possible that it is from the job. I was empowered, but also it has more to do with some trainings that I received as a young person, and that I learned certain things about how to really stay to what I wanted, and to be assertive.
Were some of these trainings specifically on sexual violence or on other issues?
Well, most of them were on sexual violence, on how to protect women and children. So in one way or the other, they always had something to do with sexual violence, sexual abuse, rape, things like that.
And so that gave you awareness as well as some of the tools that you used whenever you were in such a situation.
Yes.
Apart from the incidents that you've mentioned, are there any other incidents where you faced sexual violence or sexual harassment from any other public officials?
Yes, one of them was a minister. And I remember we were on a trip, we had to travel together abroad, and that was that was difficult because there was a problem at home, and I had to leave about 80% of my per diem back home. And when we were going, he knew I could not afford to pay for the hotel they were going to. Like, they were higher dignitaries, they were ministers. And he started, since the beginning, he started messaging, saying stuff. And when we arrived, he asked me where I was going. The place I was going to was more like a motel, not a hotel, because it was cheaper. But he said I should go with him and stay with him at his hotel room, and he would pay everything for me. He would give me whatever I wanted. But I told him no, I had my money, so I had somewhere to stay. And on that mission, I had some documents for him because there were some documentations. But during the day, whenever I called him and said, "Sir, I have your documents. Can I please come and bring them?" He said he was busy. And he would only call me late at night to bring them. And when I said, no, it is late, he said, no, yeah, I will call my driver to come and pick you up, and then you can spend the night with me. And that was happening. I could not give him his documents until I was getting fed up. And he was only calling at night, saying things like, I think you're very attractive. I like you, this and that. And one day I decided to go up to his hotel during the day when they had a break. And I decided to give him his document and told him, please, your boss, the same person that appointed you, was the same person who appointed me here. So I want you to give me that respect. And I remember from that day on, I don't talk to this particular minister again. Even during cabinet meetings, he tries to make jokes or things like that. Whenever he says something, I reply back with a word or two, but in a very intensive way. I remember I spoke to certain people about this, some of my colleagues, and I don't talk to that minister.
Can you refer us to your list to tell us the name of this particular minister?
He is on number 46.
Number 46. Thank you for that. After the experiences that you've told us about, in particular what happened between you and former President Yahya Jammeh, when you refused to sleep with him or refused other sexual advances, you eventually left the Gambia. And I would only refer the commissioners to paragraphs 47 to 56 as listed in point number 35 of the protected information sheet. And then we will come to the last topic, which is the impact that all of this has had on you, on your family, and generally how you feel about the experiences that you've been through today. Can you tell us some of the impact that this has had?
Well, more especially on my education and feeling bullied all the time and being sidelined. And it went to an extent of like making me feel like to envy other people. And being away from my family was traumatic. It was difficult for me. And my mother ended up getting ill. Like she became a totally different person because they used to call her sometimes in the middle of the night. And I had high hopes of becoming something in future. Somebody promised me scholarship and this was going to shape my future well. But he decided not to go ahead with this just because I said no to him. And when I got here, I was on some occasions taken to the hospital, In Gambia, I received psychological support, and I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. And sometimes when I'm sleeping, it feels like somebody is strangling me. I rarely sleep at night. I have nightmares of people laughing at me, people doing all horrible things, and I remember it went to an extent. I I tried crazy things to just get rid of to get rid of everything, because I always sit here and start thinking, why did I allow them to bully me? Why did I allow the president to do this? If if he was not willing to support me, I was already studying. Even I was already willing to do better for myself. If he was not ready to support my education, why did he make promises? Why did he break them? Just because I would not sleep with him. And and my family also had to suffer for it. I used to be very active. I used to be very outspoken. Now I am a totally different person. I isolate myself from the people. I don't interact much. Most of my friends, maybe they think I feel like I am better than them or something, but it makes me a bit scared of people. And sometimes when like other people don't even mean to bully me or make me feel bad about myself, but I react quickly. I don't easily take it as a joke. I don't allow it when anyone wants to belittle me or make me feel bad. And I become this very quiet type. I barely make comments on anything on Facebook. That was not me. I wanted to be out there. I wanted people to see me. But now I don't even enjoy the company of people. I have been isolated enough that I now enjoy it.
Of course, we haven't gone into details of what happened to you after you left the Gambia and that experience as well, how that would have also had an impact on your life. But as a result of your cumulative experience, um, what are some of the medical or psychosocial consequences that this has had? Um, were you diagnosed with any kind of issues that you'd like to talk about, or that you experienced as a result of the cumulative experiences that you
Yeah,
faced?
I know I am being diagnosed with post traumatic stress disorder, and it's difficult when you even hear certain people talking about you, even within the family, something that you have mental problems. I have seen I have seen this, and sometimes they talk and they say something is wrong with you. You were sick. You were this, and because of that, there were times that I locked myself inside, and I had overdoses, and thanks to my family, they tried to help me to get out of the situation. I cut myself, and there was a day I totally wanted to get rid of myself, and I remember my brother came to my rescue, and he called the ambulance service, and they came for me.
And throughout your experience, you've obviously had periods where you've been isolated, but you've also had support from your family, including support for your testimony today. Um, can you tell us how you feel about testifying about what happened to you and why you chose to do so in the end?
It was a difficult decision for me, but I know I have a very supportive family. My husband is always by my side. My mom, my father, my brothers, my sisters, everyone. It's too much. They've been through a lot, and I want to do this for other women out there, because for me, no woman deserves to go through any type of assault or violence because of your gender. And I want those men to know that one day it will come out, and that is what is happening today. Those men didn't think that a day like this would come, and it was a difficult journey and a very difficult decision for me to come out and talk. But I realized that if I just had to keep everything to myself, it was going to empower them. It will not mitigate the situation. They will keep doing that. So I'm sure today maybe they are hearing this, and they will be a bit more cautious and a little bit more careful of things they will do, because I know certain people are there. They are still working. They are still in the system. They are still in government, and they will know what I am saying. They will know themselves.
Thank you very much for answering all of my questions, Madam Witness. I'm sorry that you had to go through such difficult experiences, and the impact that this has had on your life has clearly been profound. But I would like to thank you for testifying and for answering my questions. I will hand over
Yes,
to the
thank you.
commissioners for additional questions. Just a reminder that the witness should be referred to as Madam Witness or not at all. Um, and if at all necessary to ask a question that is related to confidential information, please use your protected information sheet. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, I hand over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Council, and thank you, Madam Witness. Sorry, I was saying that the Kanilai Love Nest was indeed a house for abuse of young, vulnerable women. This should not have happened. I'm truly sorry that you had to endure such sexual abuse from people who were doing nothing but exercising power over young, vulnerable women. Truly sorry about it, and thank you very much indeed for being very brave and strong to come and testify before us on this very difficult issue in the country here. Commissioners, if you have any questions to ask, please so indicate. Bishop, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam Witness, with all those incidents that happened in Kanilai, where
Yes.
was the First Lady?
The First Lady, in most cases, she was always out of town. I remember some occasions she came to Kanilai, but I can't remember at any point in time when she spent the night there.
The second, further to that, does that mean that she was not aware of those things that were happening in marital home?
That I cannot tell. It's possible, because I used to say this to myself: is this a contract marriage? Do they have an agreement or what? Because I will not do that. I will not. And there were so many people writing on Facebook, and she was active on Facebook. So to an extent, I believe she was turning a deaf ear to what was happening. It's possible she was not aware, but with the wall of technology and a woman who had a Facebook account and a Facebook page and people were writing all sort of things, I don't believe there was a possibility that she was not aware of what was happening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Deputy Chair, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Madam Witness. The chairman has already alluded to the misuse of power by people who have power to use this power over people who are vulnerable. And we are happy that you were empowered through various socialization processes to be able to say no to people in power. Now my question is just a very brief one. Is in respect of the two sisters, do you know how this impacted on their family relationships?
Well, I don't know their family particularly, but I know it was not a nice relationship. Even people who are not related by blood do not want to share a man, much less people who were related by blood. So, to my view, these were women who were not so much aware of what the harms were. And for me, I don't believe in blaming a victim. In as far as the person used his power and used his authority or whatever, I will not blame the woman. I blamed him. He knew what he was doing was wrong, and he did it.
Thank you, Madam Witness.
Thank you very much indeed. Commissioner Jones, I understand you want the floor. Please go ahead. Thank you.
You told the commission that for international travels, you would take turns on who would accompany the president. For the national travels within the country, did all the protocol officers, female protocol officers, accompany the president?
Yeah, in most cases we all go, except for those who were on maternity leave or for some reason, I don't know, but in most cases everyone goes.
Okay. You further told the commission that you discussed with at least some of the protocol officers, not all of them.
What?
You also told the commission that you discussed with some of the female protocol officers as to the experiences or what happened between them and President Jammeh.
I don't know what you said. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. During some of your discussions, did it also come out that during some of your discussions with the female protocol officers, did it come out that Jembe was always present during the encounters with Jammeh?
I think Jimby was there until she knows everything was okay, and then she leaves.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much indeed. With no further questions, or Imam C, please, you have the floor. Thank you.
Madam jërëjëf lay sargal ci tas métit bi nga gis ak tas yaakaar yi tas ci yow.
Hello?
Thank you, Madam Witness.
Tas yaakaar yi tas ci yow.
Hello?
Jamfa yi la jamfa.
The disappointments and the betrayals that you experienced.
Fooguloo woon yéen jigéen yi yéen mënoon ngeen ko rey su ngeen ragalut.
Do you not think that you, the ladies, could have killed him if you were not scared?
Uh, Maybe that was a possibility, but for me, violence doesn't stop violence. And he was doing that. He was powerful, but I believe God is more powerful than him. So, and that is what is happening today. He might be alive, but deep inside he is dead. So he had the power to do that. And even if I could kill him, I will not do that. The life belongs to God. So I only had a belief that God will judge him, and it's happening in a way that God did it. God has not waited for us to go to the next world. He's already doing it here. We are going through tough times. It's difficult for me. It's difficult for other women, but it's more difficult for him because this is a shame for him.
Thank you very much indeed. And if you have any closing remarks to make, Madam Witness, please proceed to do so now.
Thank you very much. I just want to stress at the TRRC, the powerful people, former ministers, and men in uniform have testified to the fact that it is impossible to say no to Yahya Jammeh. His closest associates feared him, and Jungle said that Jammeh had ordered the killing of his own relatives. Rumors said that he even ordered the mother of a soldier who was expecting a baby for him. Please remember all of these and try to understand the environment in which we, the young protocol women, were working. Yeah, Jammeh was very powerful and cunning, and using his position of authority, he put a system in place using state institutions and resources to ensure that women would not or could not say no. For me, his system was wicked, and he targeted young women from vulnerable families. Most of the time, these young women were the ones supporting their entire family. He sometimes even directly supported the family, appearing as a generous benefactor. He made you believe that he was a father to you or a mentor. He made promises of education and scholarships, and we all longed for a better life. And it is at that time that when the confidence was built, that he made his sexual demands in return. If you said no, he makes sure you suffered, humiliates you, makes others to belittle you. And this is my story. Others felt that they had no choice but to accept his advances and become his sexual slave, that he could call whenever he felt like it, even in the middle of the night. I witnessed that. Some others believed that when he was making his promises and fell for them, because he was skilled at making you believe that you were special and that he had real interest in you, only to be dumped after a short time and treated badly by his entourage. And I witnessed that as well. Yeah, Jammeh's tactics was to rule and divide, and Jimby used the same technique with us. We mistrusted each other, and it was hard to find someone to confide in. Working for Jammeh meant constant stress, constant anxiety, and no one to turn to. So I am here to call on all Gambian people to please stop blaming the women and being judgmental, and know that the least you can do for a victim is be supportive. As the expert on sexual violence said here, our society always blames the girls and the women, when in fact the ones to condemn are the men who are abusing their position of authority for their own pleasure. Because the practice did not just stop at State House, it is a societal problem that affects every layer of our society. Myself, I had to endure sexual assault and harassment not only from Yaya Jammeh, but from other senior officials. And today, I have mustered all the courage that I have and that God has given me to testify here with the hope that never again would also concern sexual violence in our country. Myself, I have been sexually harassed by so many men today. And these are men in position. These are men I gave examples of. People like Usman, I don't want to go, but okay, people like Usman Sonko is already out. I have gone through so much anxiety, so much fear, and as I speak to you, I shake wondering what people will say about me, but it's okay, because I have decided to be strong, because this is bigger than me. I feel very insecure about my sisters because this happens everywhere and I don't want them to experience anything like I had gone through. I just want to call on women to find the strength to speak out about what they had experienced or worse, what they are still going through. Most importantly, I want to call on all the parents to make sure that girls do not have to go through this, to make sure they empower them and tell them that it's okay to say no, to support them, to believe in them and never, never blame them for they are the victims. And finally, I just want to thank everyone, all those great men that I cannot mention, but they know themselves. They stood by me, they helped me go through everything, they gave me advice to my family, my husband, everyone, and to all those Gambians who understand, to all those Gambians who believe in us and not doubt us, because I know many will be there to doubt the women, but these are things we've been through, and you don't have to go through them to believe those. I thank you all very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Witness. And we hope that our process here would bring justice, reconciliation, and healing to victims, especially victims in the categories that have been discussed here, have been exposed. We hope that we find a way of not having these kind of things repeated again in our country here. But thank you again so much. You're a very brave lady to come and talk about your suffering and the abuses that you endured. Council, if you have another point to make before I adjourn the meeting, please go ahead.
It's purely a procedural matter. I would like to tender the protected information sheet into evidence as Exhibit 0093. Yes, thank you very much.
Request granted. If there are no further points, we would take a lunch break, 1 hour, and then come back 3:10.
And I will collect the protected information sheets again.
Wonderful. Thank you
Thank
again
you.
so much. Meeting is adjourned.